go ahead.
Ready? Shabbat Shalom. So folks that are here, we welcome you. Folks that are online, we welcome you. It's a little windy outside, so I think the balance is shifting a little bit tonight, but we're glad that you folks are here with us. We're going to begin again, page 643.
Esa einai el harim, Esa einai el harim, me'ain yavo Hezri, me'ain yavo Hezri, me'ain yavo Hezri. Me'ain yavo Hezri. Where does my hope come from? Where does my hope come from? My hope will come from God, maker of heaven and earth. My help will come from God, maker of heaven and earth. Esa einai el harim, Esa einai el harim, me'ain yavo Hezri. Me'ain yavo Hezri, me'ain yavo Hezri, me'ain yavo Hezri. Where does my hope come from? Where does my hope come from? My hope will come from God, maker of heaven and earth. My hope will come from God, maker of heaven and earth. Esa einai el harim, Esa einai el harim.
Let's turn again on page 120. We're going to bring light into the space and into our lives. Melanie and Todd, if you can meander your way over here. Page 120. You can light them.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kirshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu להדליק נר של השבת.
Amen. Thanks, friends. Let's turn again. 123. We'll invite you to rise if you are able.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho, v'ahava uvratzon, inchilanu, zikaron v'masei v'reishit, ki hu yom tehila lemikrae kodesh, zecher litziat Mitzrayim, ki vanu v'acharta, ve'otanu kidashta, mikol hamim, v'shabbat kodshecha, be'ahava uvratzon, hinchaltanu, Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh hashabat.
Amen.
L'chaim.
We can return to our seats, 138, 139, Lechadodi, the prayer of our mystics, trying to find a way to bring Shabbat closer to our lives. And they imagined that Shabbat was a bride, and that this was going to be a reunion over and over again every week, a new reunion to try and have an encounter with Shabbat. So we continue with the first 5 stanzas. After the 5th one, we jump to the very last one. And our custom, if you choose to join us, is to rise at that very last stanza. We'll face the open doors in the back of our sanctuary, and symbolically we welcome the Sabbath bride into our midst.
Ya la 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 lechadoti, ya la 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 likrat kala, ya la 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 penei Shabbat, penei Shabbat nekame, ya la 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 lechadoti, ya la 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 likrat kala, ya la 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 penei Shabbat, penei Shabbat nekame. Shamot vezachor beribor echad yishmianu el hamyochar Adonai echad ushmo echad l'shem u'tiferet v'litchilah Yai lai lai, ya la 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 lechadodi, ya la 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 likrat kala, ya la 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 penei Shabbat lekabela, likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki hi mekor הברכה מראש מקדם נסוכה סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה יאי לי לי יאללה לה 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 לך דודי לה 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 לקראת קלה יאללה לה 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 פני שבת Penei Shabbat nekavela מקדש מלך, עיר מלוכה, קומי צאי מתוך ההפכה, רב לך שבט בעמק הבכה, והוא יחמול עלייך נגלה. יאי לי לי, יאללה לה לה לי לך דודי, יאללה לה 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 לקראת כלה, יאללה לה 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 פני שבת, פני שבת נקמה. Yalla la 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 lecha dodi, try with me. Yalla la 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 likrat kala. Yalla la 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 penei Shabbat lekavela. Itnari me'afar kumi. Livshi b'gdei tifartech ami. Al yad ben Ishai Beit Halachmi Korva el nafshi Gehala Yai lai lai Yala la la lai lecha dodi Yala la 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 likrat kala Yala la 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 penei Shabbat Penei Shabbat nekavela Hitoreri Kiva orech Kumi ori Uri Shir daberi Kivod Adonai Alayich nigla Yai dai dai Yana na na dai lecha dodi Yana la 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 likrat kala Yana la 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 penei Shabbat nekavela Boi veshalom Vateret bala Gam besimcha Uvsohola Toch emunei Yam segula Boi chala Yai lai lai Yala la 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 lecha dodi Yala la 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 likrat kala Yala la 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 penei Shabbat nekame Yala la 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 lecha dodi Yala la 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 likrat kala Yala la 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 penei Shabbat nekavela.
May be seated. Let's turn forward 142, welcoming angels into our lives. This is the Shabbat that talks a lot about angels, and perhaps not just thinking about these imaginary figures from tradition. Perhaps we can imagine ourselves acting like those angels and showing up for one another. It's not always easy, but maybe find the strength to go and to grow with Shalom. 142.
Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzeitrem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
146. We rise if we're able.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Va'ed.
Let's turn the page. 149. This is an hour of change. Within it we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, my friend, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, my friend, or cross over? Baruch atah Adonai HaMa'ariv Aravim. Let's read together on 151. As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me. Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. You can find our Shema V'Ahavta in our handout if you'd like to follow along.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai, Adonai Echad. Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai, Adonai Echad. Yai la lai, la la lai, yai lai la lai lai. Yai la lai, la la lai lai. Yai la lai, la la lai, yai lai la lai lai. Yai la lai, la la lai lai. Baruch Shem Kavod, Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam, Leolam Vaed. Baruch Shem Kavod, Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam, Leolam Vaed. Yai la lai, la la lai, yai lai la lai lai. Yai la lai, la la lai lai. Yai la lai, la la lai, yai lai la lai lai. Yai la lai, la la lai lai. You shall love God with all of your heart, with your soul and with all of your might. You shall teach your children to grow, to love and to know what is right. Yai la lai, la la lai, yai lai la lai lai. Yai la lai, la la lai lai. Yai la lai, la la lai, yai lai la lai lai. Yai la lai, la la lai lai. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai, Adonai Echad.
Can be seated. 157. Let's read together again. 157. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there's a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together. We turn the page.
Who is like you, Adonai? Who is like you, Adonai? Ya la la la, ya la 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 la. Ha'elim Adonai, mi kamocha, nehedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot, oseh vele, nora tehilot, oseh vele. Malchutecha ra'u v'anecha, bokei hayam, lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, ze Eli אנו ואמרו זה אלי אנו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
Amen. 161 and 160 We begin on the left side, we move to the right side, and join along with us.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkivenu, leshalom. V'ha'amidenu, v'shoknenu lechayim. Ufros aleinu, Sukat shlomecha. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkivenu, leshalom. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms.
164, we move into the tefillah together. We invite you to rise if you're able.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, ve'Konei Hakol, וזוכר חסדי אהבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך הסלע. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Let's be seated. We can join together on 173. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. A prayer of gratitude on 177. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. For all these and more, we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, Hatov Shimcha, Ulecha Na'eh Lehotot. 178.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov be'einecha levarech et amcha Yisrael bechol heit ubechol shah bishlomecha. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam.
Take some time for our own personal prayer, your own quiet and reflections. If you want to follow along in the Siddur, you can choose a text to refer to, reflect upon on 179 through 181, or just take a little time for your own silence. We'll come back together again shortly at the bottom of 180.
עושה שלום Bimromav Ose Shalom Bimromav Hu Yaseh Shalom Hu Yaseh Shalom Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. Oh, say shalom. Bimromav. Oh, say shalom. Hu Yaseh Shalom, Hu Yaseh Shalom, Hu Yaseh Shalom, Aleinu. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down.
And after those prayers for peace, we turn to prayers for healing and wholeness. If you have one of our little handouts, you can open it up and you'll see in the middle of the page lots of folks that are connected to our community, many that we won't know, but we take all of these names together and we share them and we keep them in our minds and our hearts, and we send a little bit of our strength their way. If you would like to share the name out loud of someone who could use a little bit of prayer and strength from us, we invite you just to call them out. Even if it's all at the same time, just let's fill the room with these names.
Family and friends of Guy Puna.
You'll see a Misha Berach in the handout. It's all the way to the right side.
We haven't done this one in a while. I know you're going to remember it very quickly, and it's a call and response. Misha Berach Avotenu Mekor HaChaim Ve'imotenu Hu Yivarech Ve'yirafeh Et HaCholim El Narefa Nala El Narefa Nalo El Narefa Nala El Narefa Nalanu El Narefa Nala El Narefa Nalo El Narefa Nala El Narefa Nalanu Misha Berach Avotenu Mekor HaChaim Ve'imotenu Hu Yivarech Ve'yirafeh Et HaCholim El Narefa Nala El Narefa Nalo El Narefa Nala El Narefa El Narfa Nala, El Narfa Nalanu.
You know, there's something in the Torah portion that reminds me of a story. So here's the story. And this is a true story. They're all true stories, but this one's really a true story. So in the last century, Jews in America were starting to do okay. We were moving out of cities and into these suburbs, kind of creating new congregations and other kinds of Jewish legacy institutions. And many of them become well-known designs by prominent architects and all of that kind of stuff. And it's a very far cry from where parents or grandparents might have had their own prayerful experiences back in Eastern Europe. And there was one person who wanted his parents to come to this new and shiny synagogue. They were part of an old New York neighborhood, but even before that, they were in a small shul in Pinsk, which was in Poland, and that's where this family came from. So the high holy days, that's what Americans call it, the high holy days are approaching, and this man thinks, wouldn't it be nice if we could all be together for these holy days? But his parents don't seem to be enthusiastic about this at all. And they're comfortable where they are, in their shul. Shul is one of those Yiddish words for the synagogue, right? School, learning, congregating, all of that. So they like their shul, their rabbi's okay, their cantor is great, and all of their friends are there, and they're comfortable. But this young man at the time is really eager to bring his folks out to these new suburbs and see this new, exciting, beautiful temple instead of the little shul that they came from. And once he brings them there, he was certain that they're going to want to come. So the following Sunday, he picks them up from the old neighborhood and he takes them to the temple. And there are congregations around the country, those Reform kind of old school congregations that are called the temple. It's actually their names. So he shows the folks the beautiful sanctuary, the very modern ark, right? And there is incredible designs and stained glass windows, and there are many oohs and ahs as this guy is taking his folks around the synagogue. But he senses that something isn't totally kosher. Maybe they're still a little uncomfortable. So he asks, "Nu, what do you think?" And their response was, "Son, it's very nice." So naturally, he presses on. He says, "Will you come with me to the holidays?" And the folks look at him, and they take a long pause, and the mom says to the son, "Yes, we agree. It's a beautiful temple, but can we cry here?" And I love that story because the synagogue is supposed to be much more than just how it looks. And our congregation in particular, kind of playing it low-key, don't you think? It reminds me of what's happening in this Torah portion. We're seeing this continuation of the saga between Jacob and Esau. Jacob tricks his brother Esau, and he tricks his dying father Isaac, pretends to be Esau in order to get this blessing, this really important, special blessing for the firstborn, and that's not Jacob. And Esau feels devastated and cheated by his own twin brother, and Esau threatens to kill Jacob. So Jacob runs away. And the beginning of this Torah portion is where the story picks up. And Jacob is in the middle of nowhere, and he's alone. He's so alone, he has nothing with him. He uses a rock as a pillow. And then the Torah says that in this place with the stone under his head, he has this dream. And the original stairway to heaven shows up in this dream. And Whether it's a stairway or a ladder, you pick. It doesn't really matter. But there is a connector between heaven and earth, and these angels are going up and down this sulam, this ladder, this stairway. And God speaks to Jacob in this dream and says, I've had your father's back. I've had your grandfather's back. I'm going to have your back too. That's not a literal translation. And then, at a certain point, Jacob wakes up. And he's so amazed by this encounter through this dream. He says, God was in this place and I didn't know it. God was here all along and I didn't realize it. It's such a famous line in Jewish tradition. And I look at it and I see that he runs away. He loses everything. He loses everyone. He's alone. Rock as a pillow. Not a good place to be. He has this dream. God shows up with this bridge between heaven and earth. Angels going up and down. He wakes up and says, God was in this place and I never realized it all along. And then the very next thing that he does, Jacob says to God, if you give me food, clothing, and a good car, then you could be my God. So he has this amazing moment and he goes back to being a regular guy. And on one level, I'm so disappointed in Jacob, and on another level, it's so very human. We all do that. We can see wonder and awesomeness, have a sense of awe and encounter, and then we I have to pick up my kids, right? I have to check and see who's texting me. We go right back to business. Jacob goes back to this typical person's kind of, conditional faith. If you do this for me, God, I will do something for you. If you give me enough security, I promise I'll go to rabbinical school. Right? But the most important part, it's not exactly how it happened, by the way. All right. But the most important part was that Jacob has this incredible, vulnerable moment. Really vulnerable. He lets his guard down. He puts it right back up again. But in order to have a sense of God's presence, he becomes really vulnerable. And we, particularly we Americans, we don't do vulnerable very well. We've been taught to be independent, to be strong, lift ourselves up by the bootstraps. You could do anything you want. All you have to do is have a drive. And I don't think that's true. And I think that often hurts us in lots of ways we don't really recognize. So let's talk about vulnerability for a second. I know you don't want to, but I'm going to do it anyway. Vulnerability, some experts say, is the capacity for woundedness. Think about that for a second. The capacity for woundedness. Well, I think that's every single human being. Another idea about vulnerability is that it can be a state of exposure. That is worse for me than feeling wounded, is to be exposed. Someone to see a real true part of me. No, I don't want to do that. Walls up. Let's go back. Let's be conditional again. If God, you do this for me, that's right where I want to go. Exposure. There's a Jewish educator and scholar and leadership trainer. All of this, her name is Erica Brown. She's brilliant. And she cites a woman who I'm just learning about, Martha Albertson Feynman. She's a legal theorist. And she says that vulnerability, this is kind of cool, so you should wake up. Vulnerability is a tool that can potentially create self-understanding and greater compassion toward others. It emerges from the fact that we are all born defenseless. All of us, we're all born defenseless. And, she says, even when we acquire the means of self-protection, we are often foisted into situations beyond our control. But we like to have control over everything. At least we think that we can. And I think we should start to get over that. It's not really good for us. And you can't talk about vulnerability, I've learned, without talking about Brené Brown. Now, we know her, we like her, we share her images and her quotes on any kind of social media. She has a cool TED Talk, and she has a podcast that's kind of amazing, and lots of books. And she has one book called Daring Greatly, How the Courage to be Vulnerable Transforms the Way We Live, Love, Parent, and Lead. It's a great book. And she says this: vulnerability is not a weakness. I should kind of stop right there, because most of us think it's just about weakness. Vulnerability, she says, is not weakness, and the uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure we face every day are not optional. Our only choice is a question of engagement. Our willingness to own and engage with our own vulnerability determines the depth of our courage. Determines the depth of our courage and the clarity of our purpose. The level to which we protect ourselves from being vulnerable is a measure of our fear and our disconnection. So, how do we make this back to Torah and Jacob, who's alone and lets his guard down and is vulnerable? I think he finally encounters the divine in a true and authentic way, and then he shies away because he thinks he needs to be strong like most men, and he actually hides from himself and what he did that was kind of icky. I don't have a better word. He tricks his father who's blind, like, it's not cool. But his hurt and his regret are the things that actually make him human. I don't think he's really able to deal with his human side yet. Not until decades later, when he wrestles with this angel and he experiences this moment of transformation, right? His name is no longer Jacob, which means a heel, but he becomes Yisrael, Yisrael, the one who wrestles with God. And that's our legacy, to be God wrestlers. But I also think we have to wrestle with ourselves and some of the stuff that we've been trained to do. So I hope we don't wait so long to figure out how to be vulnerable or to repress our regrets and deny our humanness. Now, last thing I'll share is just a couple of little things in a poem. My natural inclination, I'm not a big sharer. I don't like it. It makes me uncomfortable. And over the years, I've been learning to share more and more with you folks, with our community and our congregation, because I know that it's better for me, but it's also better for us to be able to say that we are really human and have a sense of being interdependent, rather than that independent myth we keep talking about. Now, there are limits to how much we should be sharing. No one can be forced to expose themselves too much where they feel unsafe. We have to be careful about that. But to be able to open our hearts to others, I think there's a powerful remedy. And the remedy, I guess we're trying to remedy shame. And we're trying to remedy perfection. And we're trying to remedy out-of-control ambition. And I think this is even a remedy for racism. Jacob let his guard down, and he grew, but he had felt no choice but to put it back up. And he doesn't really do it again for decades. But I think we can let our guards down, because where we're broken, I think, are the places where we grow the most. We grow from those broken places. And we can encounter God or godliness or divine presence, whatever it is you think. And I think we can see the real presence of one another. So here's a poem, a little reading to leave you with by Mickey Scott B. Jones. She writes, Together, we will create brave space, because there is no such thing as a safe space. We exist in the real world. We all carry scars, and we've all caused wounds. In this space, we seek to turn down the volume of the outside world. We amplify the voices that fight to be heard elsewhere. We call each other to more truth and love. We have the right to start somewhere and continue to grow. We have the responsibility to examine what we think we know. We will not be perfect, and it will not always be what we wish it to be, but it will be our brave space together, and we will work on it side by side.
This text from Psalm 118, Min HaMetzar. From a narrow place I've called upon God. God answered me with expansiveness. The source of all life is with me. I will not fear. I will not be undone by human frailty. I was thinking about this text, and as Rabbi Green was speaking, I was thinking about how we hide, and the walls, and the brave space, and that opening ourselves to each other is not only opening ourselves to God, but it is allowing an expansiveness of ourselves. And so let's sing this together. I know many of you know it, and if you don't, the melody is quite easy to pick up, and La 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 works just as well as the text. Let's pray to open ourselves to brave spaces, to expansive spaces. Min ha-meitzar karatia anani v'merchav yamin ha-meitzar karatia anani v'merchav yamin ha-meitzar karatia anani v'merchav yamin ha-meitzar karatia anani v'merchav Adonai li lo ira ma yaseh li adama Adonai li lo ira oh ma yaseh li adam min ha-meitzar karatia anani v'merchav yamin ha-meitzar karatia anani v'merchav Adonai li lo ira ma yaseh li adama Adonai li lo ira oh ma min hamitzar karatia anani v'merchavya.
Amen, amen. 586. Let's move to conclude 586. The bottom of the page, we continue with Aleinu L'Shabach. And again, we invite you to rise if you're able.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'atent gedula liotzer breshit, shelo asanu kegoyei ha'aratzot, velo samanu kemishpechot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, vegor aleinu kechol hamonam, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
588.
שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד ארץ ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל ושכינתו זו בגופי מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבות אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד.
591.
ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
May be seated. Zichronam levracha. May their memories be for a blessing. If you are observing a yahrzeit, an anniversary of one's death, or if you're in a period of mourning, we invite you, if you choose, to rise for a moment, share the name of the one whom you are remembering, then we'll continue with additional names from the community.
My colleague and friend, Cantor Gaibone.
From our community, we remember a number of people from in the period of Shloshim, those first 30 days. We remember Peter Elkanus, the son of Dave Elkanus and Eve Bond, the brother of Henry and Charlie. We remember our congregant Alan Hurst and Paul Richter, the brother of Susan Aaron and the uncle of Andy Bavarnik. And we remember Dolores Sanders, the mother of Lisa Malowski. Those yahrzeits that we recall for this week that has passed. We remember Doris Balin and Ignatz Brand, Ivan Collins, Arthur Eston, Ben Fischler, David Glassman, Ann Steiner Heith, Bert Hobson, Margot Cohen, Sanford Kornberg, Laura Levine, Laura Myers, Sidel Panner, Sarah Atkins Rosenfield, Maurice Harvey Rubin, Alan Schaefer, Sheila Schnee, Barnett Schulman, Jacques Schwartz, Herbert Singer, Lillian Steinman, Jackie Stoutenberg, and Stuart Velick. Kaddish is on 598. We stand together and symbolically holding up our friends who have to say Kaddish tonight, we continue to stand with you. 598. Yit Gadal, V'yit Kadash, Shemei Rabbah, Be'alma Divrach, Chirutei, V'yamlich Machutei, V'chayechon, V'yomechon, V'chayei Dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala V'izman Kari V'meru, Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah Mevarach Leolam Lomei Almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudusha b'richu le'ela min kol berachata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran v'elma v'meru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'meru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'emeru, amen. May the source of peace and peace to all who mourn, all who hurt, here and everywhere. Let's say amen. We can return to our seats. Our closing prayer is on 180. We are going to encourage you to kind of make sure you keep looking at the things that are online and in our emails. If there's lots of things that are happening, and even a few of them are mentioned in this little handout. And for some friends that are going to have a cool Shabbat dinner with other folks, we welcome you guys. I know that Ethan Stone, our advisor, has been organizing for folks that are sort of like in their 20s-ish. And there's a handful of brave souls that came to services, so that's pretty cool. We're glad that you folks are here. And but there'll be a little more than, there's about 15 people or so that are coming tonight. We hope you have a great dinner together. So 180, Oseh Shalom. We always pray for peace.
And just know that even though my hands are doing the playing, you can use your hands to clap if you would like to. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru amen. Yai la 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 yai la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 yai la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru amen. Yai la 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 yai la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru amen.
Shabbat Shalom to you. Wish your neighbors a Shabbat Shalom. We can go out to the social hall. We'll make a quick motzi together, perhaps introduce ourselves to somebody new, and then have a nosh if you're up for it. Let's go and we'll make a quick motzi together.